Hi everyone, welcome to the channel. In this lesson about cryptography and network security, we are going to learn about classical encryption techniques, specifically about the Caesar cipher, monoalphabetic cipher, and the Playfair cipher. So we are going to learn about classical encryption techniques. Why we have to learn them? We need to learn them to illustrate or to understand the basic approaches which are used for symmetric encryption in today's world, and also about the different types of cryptoanalytic attacks which one can expect. So the two basic building blocks of all types of encryption techniques are substitution and transposition. So in substitution technique, each bit or element in the plain text will be replaced with other letters or numbers or symbols. In the case of transposition, it is obtained by rearranging the letters of the plain text. So we are going to learn about the different types of substitution techniques in this video. So in substitution techniques, if plain text is viewed as a sequence of bits, then the ciphertext also would be involving bit patterns. So there are different types of substitution techniques. Primarily, we are going to learn about Caesar cipher, monoalphabetic cipher, and Playfair cipher in this video. So the first is Caesar cipher. The Caesar cipher is the earliest known substitution cipher technique, and it was used by Julius Caesar. And this was first used in military affairs in the olden days. In Caesar cipher, how it proceeds is each letter in the plain text is replaced by a letter standing three places down the alphabet, further down the alphabet. Say, for example, if in the plain text you have meet me after the toga party. So from M, three places further down the alphabet is N, O, P. So M will be in the ciphertext, instead of M, P will appear. So E will be associated with F, G, H. So three places further down the alphabet E, you would be having H. So E would be associated with H. In the case of T, U, V, W. So three places further down the alphabet T, you have W. So T would be associated with W in the ciphertext. So this is how it proceeds on and on. So each letter is replaced by another letter three places further down the alphabet, and that is called Caesar cipher. So generally, for all the letters of the alphabet from A to Z, you can define the transformation like this. A would be replaced with D, B will be associated with E in the ciphertext, C would be associated with F in the ciphertext, Z would be associated with C in the ciphertext, and so on. So if we assign a numerical equivalent to each letter in Caesar cipher, it would be looking like this. A would be associated with 0, B would be associated with 1, C would be associated with 2, and so on, up to Z would be associated with the number 25. So it need not be always three places further down the alphabet, that the integer value of 3 can be any value. So if we generalize this, we could define a Caesar cipher like this. The ciphertext is obtained as the encryption of the plain text with the K value, which can be anything, any integer number. So you can say C is equal to P plus K mod 26, where K is the integer value and P is the plain text. So same way you can obtain the plain text like this. Plain text is obtained by decrypting with the same K value. So you can explain it as, you can represent it as P is equal to C minus K mod 26. So when you do the cryptanalysis of Caesar cipher, how far it is secure, the attacker has only 26 possible ciphers. So if you take the letter A would be mapped to any one of the letters from A to Z. Obviously, in the plain text is A, it would A mapping to A is doesn't make any sense. So you have 25 possible ciphers if you leave out that particular letter A. Then you'd have all the letters from B to Z. So you have 25 possible ciphers. So a brute force cryptanalysis can be easily performed in the Caesar cipher by simply trying out all the 25 possible keys. So here you have certain things to be noted. Caesar cipher is very easier to crack and less secure because here the encryption and decryption algorithms are known, you have only 25 possible keys to try, and the language of the plain text also is known and easily recognizable. So whatever encryption algorithm you use, it must have large number of keys as far as possible. Say, for example, in triple DES algorithm, it makes use of a 168-bit key size and makes it more secure. The language of the plain text here is known language and it is easily recognizable. So even if you use a known language, if you try to convert the plain text into some form such that even if the attacker gets hold of the plain text by decryption, still it should be in a form that it is not able to be recognized. Say, for example, you could compress the plain text by using some zip algorithm and convert it into some other form, so that even if, and then if you apply the substitution cipher like a Caesar cipher, then even if the plain text, even if the attacker gets hold of the plain text, he would not be able to recognize it or understand it. So here you can see when you do cryptanalysis of Caesar cipher, this is your ciphertext. Suppose if your ciphertext appears like this, then using 25 possible keys. So when the attacker uses key 1, he gets the plain text like this. In key 2, he gets the plain text like this. And in key 3 itself, he gets hold of the actual intelligible plain text for the ciphertext. So at the worst case, he has to try out only 25 possible keys to get an intelligible version of the ciphertext. So Caesar cipher is very, very less secure. So next type of substitution cipher is called as monoalphabetic cipher. In Caesar cipher, we didn't have for every particular letter in the plain text, it was replaced with some other fixed letter of the alphabet using depending on the value of k. So in case, so we had only 25 possible keys to try, and so that's why it was less secure. In case if our algorithm allowed for an arbitrary substitution, so, and if I say that the translation alphabet can be any permutation of the 26 alphabetic characters, then in that case, each plain text letter would map to a random ciphertext letter. So key can be 26 letters long, and that's why this approach is called monoalphabetic substitution cipher, because you have a single cipher alphabet per message. Say, for example, if your plain text is like this, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J up to Z, then A is mapped to, A is associated with D, B is mapped to K, C is mapped to V. So each plain text letter is mapped or associated with a random ciphertext letter. Okay. So if your plain text is like this, so here you can see that I is mapped to W, F is mapped to I, W is mapped to R, and so on. So if your plain text is like this, if we wish to replace letters, the ciphertext, according to this mapping, the corresponding ciphertext will appear like this. So this is the crux of monoalphabetic cipher. You have a single ciphertext alphabet per message, and each plain text letter is replaced with an arbitrary alphabet from the alphabetic characters. So when you talk about the security of monoalphabetic ciphers, here the key size has become now 25 characters. So we have now 26 factorial combinations. So our key size could be, so we have total of 4 into 10 power 26 keys. And so now our key space has become larger compared to Caesar cipher. But then monoalphabetic ciphers are not highly secure because an attacker may exploit the characteristics of the language. So say, for example, if our plain text is in non-compressed English text format, and if the cryptanalyst knows the nature of the plain text, then he can easily exploit the regularities of the language. Say, for example, in English, there are some letters which occur more frequently than some other letters. Say, for example, E or S or A or O, I, they all will be most frequently used comparatively when you compare it with the Z or X or Y or K, etc. So based on this, the attacker may create tables of single letter frequency distribution, double letter frequency distribution, or triple letter frequency distribution for various languages, and he may try to do a cryptanalysis. Suppose, for example, if the ciphertext to be solved is this, Then in the case of a cryptanalysis on a monoalphabetic cipher, how the attacker will proceed is the relative frequency of all the letters in the ciphertext is first calculated. And then there is always a standard frequency distribution for all the English letters. Okay, so this relative frequency of letters in the ciphertext in percentage is represented here in this table. Okay, so in this ciphertext, the percentage of the frequency percentage for the letter P is 13.33. The frequency percentage for the letter Z is 11.67 and so on. So the frequency percentage for the letter S is 8.33 and so on. This is the frequency distribution of the letters in percentage in this particular ciphertext. This frequency distribution is compared with the standard frequency distribution of all the letters in the English alphabet. So this is our frequency distribution for letters in the ciphertext, and this is the standard frequency distribution for all the letters in the English alphabet. So here the frequency distribution for P in the ciphertext is 13.33. Here E is having the highest frequency distribution of 12.702. So P might be associated with E. And then the next is Z with a frequency distribution of 11.67. So here the next frequency is T with a frequency distribution of 9.056. So cipher letters P and Z are the equivalents of the plain letters E and T, but we are not sure about which is which. Similarly, consider the letters S, U, O, M and H. They are all of the relatively high frequency, and they may probably correspond to the plain letters. So compare this with the frequency distribution in this set. They may be corresponding to the plain letters from the set A, I, H or N or O or R, S. Okay, similarly, consider the letters with the lowest frequencies. The letters with the lowest frequencies are A, B, G, Y, I, and J. So you can compare and associate them, and they may be included in the set B, J, K, and then you have Q, and then you have V, X, and Z. So the letters with the lowest frequencies are associated and mapped with the letters with the lowest frequencies in the standard English language. So this is the first step which can be done during cryptanalysis. The frequency of letters in the ciphertext is associated and mapped, correlated with the standard English letter frequencies. Next step which the cryptanalyst may do is look at the frequency of two-letter combinations. Two-letter combinations are called as diagrams. So a table similar to this table can be constructed for diagrams also. In English language, the most common diagram is TH. So for example, in our ciphertext, you could see the diagram ZW. ZW occurs more frequently in this ciphertext. Already we have seen that ZW appears 3 times in this ciphertext. Already we have made the correspondence of Z with T and W with H. Okay, so previously during our analysis, we found that ZW can be associated with T and H. And earlier we also, during our analysis, we equated P with E. So now we can translate ZWP to THE in the English language. Similarly, notice the sequence ZWSZ. So we don't know what would be the mapping of this letters ZWSZ, but we have identified that Z could be equated with T and W could be equated with H. So T, H, we don't know what is S, and then again Z would be associated with T. So based upon our earlier hypothesis, we can associate S with A from the set. So we could then identify that ZWSZ could be associated with THAT. So going on further, so this is how we've, after many trial and errors and following the same procedure again and again, we could resolve the ciphertext. And that is how cryptanalysis would be done for monoalphabetic ciphers. So the next type of cipher is Playfair cipher. Two principal methods which are used in substitution ciphers is to lessen the extent to which the structure of the plain text survives in the ciphertext. Okay, so previously we saw that even though it is comparatively secure compared with the Caesar cipher, monoalphabetic cipher is not much secure because the structure of the plain text is revealed in the ciphertext, and the attacker could exploit the regularities of the English language. So in order to avoid that, one approach which is followed in substitution ciphers is to encrypt multiple letters of the plain text. That is one method. And the other method is to use multiple cipher alphabets. Either you encrypt multiple letters in the plain text at a time, or you use multiple cipher alphabets in the ciphertext. So with that, we come to the next type of cipher, which is your Playfair cipher. This Playfair cipher was invented by Charles Wheatstone in 1854, and it was named after Lord Playfair. And so far, it was the best known multiple letter encryption cipher. How it proceeds is diagrams in the plain text. Diagrams are nothing but two-letter combinations. Diagrams in the plain text will be translated into diagrams in the ciphertext. That is how it proceeds. So this is how encryption is done in Playfair. In Playfair cipher, there is a key matrix, which is nothing but a 5x5 matrix of letters, which is constructed based on a keyword. So how it is constructed is, this is our Playfair matrix. First, here our keyword is monarchy. So first, the 5x5 matrix is filled with the letters of the keyword MONARCHY. Okay, and then the remaining rest of the matrix is filled with other letters from our alphabet. I and J is treated as a single unit, and it is filled in only one cell in the key matrix. So how encryption and decryption will happen in Playfair cipher is, as I told, encryption is going to happen two letters at a time. Two letters are going to be treated as one unit. So if you have repeated letters in a word, means you will be inserting filler letters like X in the word. Say for example, if you have balloon, BALL, so in between the two L's, one X will be inserted as a filler letter. And then if both letters fall in the same row, the two letters which you want to encrypt, if they are in the same row, then you will be replacing them with the letter to the right of them. In case if the letters you want to encrypt falls in the same column, then you will be replacing it with the letter which appears beneath them, below them. Otherwise, if say the two letters which you want to encrypt appears randomly in some row and in some column, then each letter is replaced by the letter in the same row and in the column of the other letter. Okay, same row and in the column in which the other letter is present. This is how encryption happens in Playfair cipher. Say for example, if your plain text is move forward, you want to encrypt move forward using Playfair cipher, then you will be treating two letters as one unit in Playfair cipher. So MO is one unit, VE is one unit, FO is one unit, RW is one unit, AR is one unit, D is left alone. So the message is padded with X. Okay. Then this is our Playfair key matrix, which is a 5x5 matrix. And then first I have to encrypt MO. So M and O appears in the same row in the Playfair key matrix. So M would be replaced with N and O will be replaced with, sorry, M would be replaced with O and O would be replaced with N. Okay. The next is we have to encrypt V and E. So where is V and E? V appears here and E appears here in some random row and column. Okay. So E would be replaced with the letter in the same row and in the column in which the second letter is present. I want to similarly, V would be replaced with the letter in the same row and in the column in which the other letter is present. I want to encrypt V and E. So V would be replaced with the letter in the same row and in the column in which E is present. So here I have U. Okay. Similarly, E would be replaced with the letter in the same row and in the column in which V is present. In the column in which V is present, I have F. So E would be replaced with F. Okay, so VE would be encrypted as U and F. And then I have F and O. F and O appears in the same column. So F would be replaced with the letter beneath it and O would be replaced with the letter beneath it. So under beneath F, I have P and beneath O, I have H. So FO would be encrypted as PH, etc. So that is how encryption happens in the Playfair cipher. So this is the overall ciphertext for the move forward plain text message using the Playfair cipher. So when you talk about the security of Playfair cipher, you get much more improved security compared with monoalphabetic cipher, because here you are going to have diagrams. So that means instead of 26 factorial, you have 26 into 26, 676 diagrams. So if that cryptanalyst has to analyze, means he has to construct a 676 entry diagram table, frequency table, and correspondingly more ciphertext has to be analyzed. This was used as this used to provide a lot of security, and it was used by British Army and US Army in World War I and World War II. So even though it is not easier to break by hand, we need to make use of a computer to break this Playfair cipher. But still, much of the structure in the plain text is revealed in the ciphertext. So just a few hundreds of letters in the ciphertext is sufficient for the attacker to find out the plain text here. So this shows the relative frequency of occurrence of letters by making use of different types of ciphers. It shows the frequency distribution that results when the text is encrypted using the Playfair cipher. So to normalize the plot, what has been done is the number of occurrence of each letter in the ciphertext is divided by the number of occurrence of the letter E in the plain text. So the resulting plot shows the extent to which the frequency distribution of letters happens. And so you can see that if the frequency distribution information is totally hidden in the encryption process, means this ciphertext plot would be relatively flat. Okay, and cryptanalysis using ciphertext would be impossible. But you can see that this is your plain text and this is your Playfair cipher plot. Playfair cipher has a flatter distribution compared with the plain text, but still it is able to reveal much of the structure of the plain text, which is actually much easier for the cryptanalyst to work with. So that is all about the security of the Playfair cipher and about the different types of substitution ciphers. Thank you.